Hello and welcome to the 214 Sports Show, episode 109. I had to look and make sure that it was 109. I'm starting to lose count with these episode numbers, but we're here for another episode of Dallas Sports. We got a great show ahead of you. We got a special guest, but before we do that, before we introduce him, I'm TJ Krilowicz, joined alongside my co-host as always, Joseph Duffey. Joe, how are you doing?
I'm glad to be back in the saddle with the best co-host in the world, TJ. And
Oh man.
it's been a very off week, and I guess if you want to call it off in Mavericks basketball, but they're doing what they're supposed to be doing, I guess I should say. But the stars have been a heat-seeking missile as of late, even after losing that Avalanche game. But since then, have fired off four straight and keep that point streak rolling. So. Interesting time in Dallas sports, but when is it not an interesting time? I'm just enjoying this WBC.
The WBC again, man. Again with you in this WBC. I'll be
Oh man,
watching tonight. I
I
mean,
can't get
we're
enough of it.
this episode's going to be on Monday, so we won't. I don't know the ending to the U.S. Dominican Republic game, but I will be watching tonight, actually. I will be. But anyways, yeah, get into this episode. Again, we will talk about the Mavericks and Stars. But another thing in Dallas sports that's been happening is the Dallas Cowboys free agency. And we've always had pretty poor timing with these podcasts and Cowboys news. It always seems that a bunch of news drops right after we film a podcast and right before we upload it to YouTube or Spotify, if you dare to listen on Spotify. Um, and one of those was Rashawn Gary. Rashawn Gary getting traded to the Cowboys. And then also a lot of news from free agency. So just because it's so packed with the Cowboys, we decided to bring on a special guest, Tommy Yarrish, Dallas Cowboys reporter. He's been on a few times before, but if you don't know him, he has been a Cowboys reporter for, I believe, over a year and about a year and a half now, right, Tommy?
Yeah, just about a year and a half now. This will
That's
be my
crazy.
my second full season here in 2026. So appreciate you guys having me on, man. Always a pleasure to talk to y'all.
Yeah, well, we appreciate you coming on, Tommy. It's always great to have you on. We are former students all at the University of Texas at Austin. That's where we all met, and glad to have you on, Tommy. So, also, it's also kind of a fun time to you just started to get into the Cowboys festivities is what I like to call it, getting into around the 2024 season, which was not a fun season at all. Going into 2025, which was also not a fun season at all. Hopefully, we can flip the script a little bit, give you an entertaining season for once in 2026.
Yeah, well, certainly see so. I mean, they're doing everything they can for that to be the case. I think the problems from last season were pretty easily recognizable on the defensive side of the ball, giving up 30 points a game. They're the only team to give up 30 or more points a game in the NFL per game, and they gave up the most amount of points in a single season in franchise history. So when you do all those things, it's pretty easy to recognize what the issue is. And they made a lot of changes throughout the course of the offseason. Obviously, the hiring of Christian Parker, which I know you guys have talked about, filling out their defensive staff in a way pretty similarly to how Brian Schottenheimer filled out his offensive staff when he got hired as the head coach of the Dallas Cowboys going into the 2025 season. So far, it's worked out pretty well for Brian Schottenheimer on the offensive side. They've got a heck of a staff. Now it's a question of can Christian Parker's group do the same thing? They've got a lot of work to do. They recognize that, but I still have yet to hear one bad thing about Christian Parker from folks around the league that have worked with him in the past or just know him in depth. So that's one thing. Now it's about getting him the players, and they've gotten him some players here at the start of the free agency, but still plenty more work to do.
Yeah, I mean, and some of those players, again, like we just mentioned, trading for Rashawn Gary, signing Jalen Thompson, Kobe Durant, also getting some depth pieces, re-signing Sam Williams, signing PJ Locke. That basically sums up majority of the moves they've made on the defensive side in this free agency period. How much would you say that this defense has been upgraded in your view, and where do these players match with Christian Parker's scheme?
Well, to be honest with you, TJ, it's going to be pretty hard not to upgrade from the worst defense in franchise history. So I do think they've done that at the very least. They've raised the floor of this defense. I think adding some veteran guys like Rashawn Gary, who is not going to be Micah Parsons whatsoever for you off the edge, but he's been a consistent producer in terms of sacks throughout the course of his career, and he's one of the better edge-setting run defenders in the NFL. So you're going to get that from Rashawn Gary. That raises your floor from an edge rushing, from an outside linebacker standpoint. They absolutely love Jalen Thompson, the safety from the Arizona Cardinals. He was with Ryan Smith, the Cowboys secondary coach last year. They feel like he can wear a lot of different hats in this defense, whether it be playing the deep portion of the field at safety. He's a rangy guy, or whether it's playing at nickel, and he's open to playing wherever they want him to play. So they like him a lot. Most recently, Kobe Durant, the corner from the Los Angeles Rams. He's been incredibly productive over the last few years for Los Angeles. This past season, led the NFL in postseason interceptions. He had two of them in that divisional game against the Chicago Bears, which was pretty crucial for Los Angeles's defense in winning that game. And so these are all moves that I don't think you're seeing this group turn into a top 10 defense at the moment. I don't know if they have the personnel for that, but they're trying to mix and match guys that they feel like can fit this scheme and succeed at a high level in what Christian Parker's trying to do, along with the core pieces that they have on defense. They feel really good about their two interior defensive tackles and Kenny Clark and Quinnen Williams. And that's why they made the trade for Oso Digizua to send him to San Francisco for a third round pick, which, to be honest with you, I think that's a great haul for Dallas. I did not think Oso Digizua would go for a third round pick. I was thinking more maybe day 3, fourth, or fifth round pick. He goes
Mhm.
for a third rounder. I think that's an excellent haul if you're Dallas. Now you just got to hit on that pick. As many top 100 picks as you can get, you take them. So that's a good start for them, but I think that there's still plenty left to do. And now the attention, they may add a couple more free agents here or there, but I think really the attention is turning into this draft and what can they do to make sure that they set themselves up in a position at 12 and 20 with two first round picks and now another top 100 pick on day two. Probably going to see a lot of defensive guys in this class, and now it's just a matter of finding the right ones.
You basically just took my question. I was just about to ask about the Osa trade because I guess it wasn't a fit. And, I agree with the move also. They can get this guy out of here. And you already have two great defensive tackles in Quinnen Williams and Kenny Clark. You mentioned how it's about hitting the spots in the draft. Is there that much pressure, you think, with after these signings they've made in free agency to get the right pieces at 12 and 20, but more than that, just in the late rounds? Is there still a lot of pressure, in your opinion, from the Cowboys' perspective, or is it, just hopefully you can get a guy around there who can replace Osa in a backup role?
I would say the pressure lies on the whole defense. I think that those first three picks, they need to hit them, and I think they know that. And what they do with those three picks, they need it to work because that's ultimately what I think, based on what they've done in free agency, what they've done there is kind of set the table for themselves. They've raised the floor, like I said. These difference makers are going to get, they're going to make this defense go, and whether that be a Mansour Delane if he falls to 12, or a Ruben Bain if he falls to 12, those kinds of things. Those are going to be the guys that ultimately change things for this group. You would hope. As far as defensive tackle, I think Otito Ogbonnia is a solid player too at nose, and I think they're going to be, pretty solid in terms of where they feel like they can maneuver different guys into that rotation. Will they draft a guy? Maybe. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know if it's going to be one of those first round picks or if it's going to be one of those, or if it's going to be that 92nd overall pick, just because they feel like they have two guys that are really strong. And now it's just about supplementing, I think, for that rotation. So um, that's why the Oso Digizua trade makes a ton of sense to me. And getting a top 100 pick out of that, I think, is a great deal.
I'm a big fan of young coaches, especially young assistants like Christian Parker. That's why I was already amped about the hire. You've seen how players from the Eagles have spoken about him, especially Cooper DeJean, who has already started an all-pro career from his perspective. Who is that underrated, maybe flying under the radar assistant under this Parker scheme or Parker coaching staff that just got hired that you think could get a little bit more praise?
I really think and it's going to be, this will be his first chance at the NFL level to prove himself. But Chidera Uzo-Duribe, the outside linebackers coach coming over from Georgia, that was a heck of a hire for Dallas. I mean, Georgia did not want to let him go. That came down to the wire. is in terms of him staying there or him coming to the Cowboys, and he's highly valued. I mean, guys, we've watched Georgia play Texas, in depth the last couple of years,
Don't
and
remember.
Oh boy.
some of the looks that the Bulldogs have given Texas, and some of the personnel that they've deployed with their outside linebackers to get pressure on the quarterback has been unbelievable. And you credit Kirby Smart, of course, the architect of that defense, for that too. But Chidera Uzodiribe is an excellent coach, and he's being lauded as such. And this pass rush was not very good last year. I think we can all agree on that. And so they're tasking him with developing a lot of these guys like a Donovan Ezaraku, who everybody's hoping takes the next step in his second year into different ways to get after the passer, because a lot of Christian Parker's work comes with getting home with four pass rushers. And that's, or, well, we haven't seen his work yet, but you can imagine that's probably what he's going to try to do and lean on his secondary to make plays. So if they're going to get home, you need guys with good technique to rush the passer, and that comes with Chidera Uzo-Duribe and BT Jordan, the pass rush specialist consultant that they hired as well, who's worked with a lot of guys around the league. He's worked with Kenny Clark. He's worked with Rashawn Gary in depth over the offseason as a trainer nationwide. And he has a knack for getting guys after the quarterback. He did it in Denver the last two seasons, and they've been one of the top defenses in sacking the quarterback over the last 2 years. So certainly a lot of emphasis going towards the pass rush this offseason. And I think that's where the Cowboys are hoping it pays off.
Certainly a lot of work still to be done with this defense still. I mean they're pretty tight with money. Obviously they did a lot of reconstructing, but they still have a lot of work to do in that phase as well. They also got a few extensions that they got to worry about for next season or next off season in that chance. Um, how much do you think the Cowboys are done in free agency? What's the plan with the rest of the money they have? Are they planning to save it? Are they planning to go after and try to get stuff? Are they done or not, basically?
Uh, that's hard to tell. I think the need at linebacker is what makes me think they may not be.
Yeah.
Um, Whether or not that's a free agency signing or if they try to go after somebody in the trade market would be my thing. Um, so I wish I had a better feel for it because I could see it both ways. As of right now, there's not a lot of murmur about anything. I think after the Oso Digizua trade went through, people were wondering if they would try and turn around that third round pick into a veteran player, maybe at linebacker or at pass rusher. Um, there doesn't seem to be anything imminent on that front at the moment. That doesn't mean that can't change, though. I mean, the last couple of years, Jerry Jones has been very active, more active than he's been in quite some time in the trade market. And so that wouldn't surprise me if he pulls the trigger on something if it makes sense. But if they go into the draft with those three picks happy and wait until maybe draft night to make moves, if anything, I wouldn't necessarily be surprised.
Yeah, you want me
Eh,
that? I was expecting you to follow up,
None.
Joe.
Sure, I'll take it. Who is that? Is there been a loss in your opinion that you regret the Cowboys moving on from? I know you like Solomon Thomas for sure. We talked about this, a little bit off the record, how, he is
Yeah,
such a
that's a
good
tough
vital
one.
piece for this entire staff. He's such a good morale piece and what he's done with his foundation. Is there a piece you regret the Cowboys moving on from?
Well, if we're talking just straight from a culture standpoint, then yeah, also Digizua and Solomon Thomas were those were hard trades for the Cowboys to make. I mean, that was tough for them to do. That was hey, at the end of the day, this is a business. Those two guys were the exemplification of culture and positivity in the locker room. I mean, you just look at the Marshawn Nealon tragedy and how those two were there for their teammates to point towards how much of an impact they had on this locker room. So those moves were not easy for the Cowboys to make. So from that standpoint, yeah, I would say those guys. But in terms of an on the field product, I don't know if there's necessarily anything that they've done that I'm like, wow, I can't believe they did that, or wow, I can't believe they let him walk.
Yeah.
Um, I mean, again, this was a bottom of the league defense last year. There should not be much carryover in terms of guys they
Exactly.
bring back. I mean, I guess maybe Brock Hoffman would be the one that I would say, just because
I
depth
I
of
was used to be so high in that guy too, just from like he used to. he seems like he's a guy you'd want to put right in the middle of the line just to thump people. He has that kind
Right.
of anger and kind of attitude that you want in the trenches.
Yeah, he certainly had the attitude for it. That he was never
Yeah.
lacking that, and sometimes to his detriment. But that was another very good culture piece, and he was great at his role when they needed him to step in. He stepped in, and he's going to do that for another team. I think that was more of he probably just priced himself out, and so that's why you see them go and sign Matt Hennessy to kind of fill that same role because he can play center and guard at backup spots for you, and that's why they put the second round tender on TJ
Exactly.
Bass. What are you a Hennessy fan, Joe?
No, TJ's laughing, so I'm laughing.
Um,
I'm kind of a Hennessy fan. I mean,
there
I
you
got
go.
a Hennessy bottle as a gift for my birthday. Um,
Don't let that go to waste.
treasure it. I treasure it.
Yeah,
I was just about to say though, like, I wasn't fine with Hoffman leaving until I saw the price, and then I was like, okay, why would they bring this guy back? I mean, it'd make no sense. So he
he's
did
gonna have
price
an
himself out for
opportunity.
sure.
Yeah, he's gonna have an opportunity to play more elsewhere too.
Yeah,
So wherever he ends up, it's probably going to be in a role where he plays a little bit more, and it might be a starter. So that's why you say, okay, we're not going to try and hold this guy back from having an opportunity to go and make some more money and play more elsewhere. Um, and the Cowboys, if they've done anything well, and they've done some things well, but what they've been really good at is finding
literally.
offensive linemen to supplement themselves from a depth standpoint. So I trust them with those decisions in terms of, hey, we feel like this guy's going to help us out on the line of scrimmage.
I tell
Well,
you what,
no. You go ahead, Joe.
I
You
was
go.
gonna say,
We're
I
really
tell you
crumbling
what,
here.
I really wanted a Sonny Styles, but after that combine, it's not looking like that's really gonna be the
Mm-mm.
case. Unfortunately, he wanted to
Well,
look like he was possessed at the combine, and now he's gonna be out of our range, I guess.
yeah, he's a freak show, man. And I said on our draft show going into it, I was like, don't be surprised if Sonny Styles tests himself out of Dallas's range this week.
It's
And
just, ugh.
what I wonder about, and we talked about this on our draft show too, is that number 6 spot with Cleveland is really interesting because they've got 6 and 39. Would you package the 2 first round picks Dallas has to move up to 6 and get 39, and maybe get a Styles or get a Caleb Downs if he's there? It's an interesting thought process, and obviously you need two to tango, and Cleveland would have to be willing for that too. But if you're the Browns, you'd get automatically 3 first round picks out of that trade, and with the kind of draft class they had last year, I wonder if they would be enticed into trusting their front office and their scouting department again to doing that. Um, I would do that trade in a heartbeat if I was the Cowboys. I think you need that caliber of a defensive playmaker early on because you think about, Fernando Mendoza is going to go number 1 overall. So at that 6th spot, you're going to have one of David Bailey, Arvell Reese, Sonny Styles, Caleb Downs, Mansour Delane, Ruben Bain. Like somebody that can be good for you on defense is going to be there at 6. And so that's what makes me wonder. And with all this talk of Jeremiah Love going top 5 too, whether it be at 4 to the Titans or 5 to the Giants, is that going to be, if you got 2 offensive guys there, that just increases your likelihood of having a game wrecker there for you that can really elevate this defense at number 6. So that's why I think Dallas could be enticed in that trade. But again, that's a two-way street, and Cleveland has to want that deal as well.
Well, Tommy, I mean, last question, at least for me. I don't know if Joe has anything else for you afterwards. He might have a burning question, but I mean, just piggybacking off of what you just said. I know I was going to ask if you think that there are any chance that they do some kind of trade up, trade down with these 12 and 20 picks. How likely do you think that that's gonna, like, how likely do you feel like that's a possibility? And also, I mean, it's obviously defense, right? I mean, do you think that there's any player right now? In my opinion, I think it's only Jeremiah Love that I would take in the first round if I were the Cowboys if he's there, which is probably not going to happen, obviously. But is there any offensive player that you think they might take in the first round, or is it just strictly defense?
I think it's going to be really hard to pry them away from defense, but if they don't move from 12 and they get wiped, I wonder about Francis Maui-Noa, the offensive tackle from Miami. I know how upset Cowboys fans would be with that because that's another first round pick going to the offensive line. Look, I'm a trenches guy. That's where the game is won and lost. I wouldn't necessarily mind it. A lot of people didn't like the Tyler Booker pick last year, and look at how that worked out for you.
Hmm.
Um,
Chugging beers at Stars games.
yeah, chugging beers at Stars games. That's your right guard for the next
Instant
10
winner.
years, probably. Um, but Maui Noah would make sense for me. I don't know if they would. They love Jeremiah Love. I don't know if they would take him at 12. I don't know if that might be too high for them. And he's a heck of a player. He really is. I just don't know if they see it as that pressing of a need with re-signing Javonte Williams
Hmm.
that they would do that. As much fun as that would be, trust me, that would be a blast to watch. But right now, I would lean towards Maui Noah from Miami if they were to pick somebody at 12. That's not defense.
Interesting, interesting. Well, Joe, you got anything else?
That's all I've got. Just glad to have Tommy Yarrish giving us some insight from the Cowboys room, and I don't know where else we could have gotten this from with this quick of access. So thanks for coming on, Tommy.
Anytime, gentlemen. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, Tommy, do you think that I could start on the Cowboys defense last season? Do you think that I would have had the ability to get some reps in over there?
Uh, I'll be honest, man. I don't think any of us could have started on that defense still, but that doesn't mean it was great. So yeah, we'll see how much better they are here in 2026.
All right, all right. Yeah, I mean, I was thinking there's a possibility, but I understand. I understand. I wasn't that good in high school anyways, but thank you again, Tommy, for joining the show. I appreciate you, and we'll definitely have you on in the future. But thanks again. Glad to have you. And we will move on to the Mavericks and Stars segment right after this. And welcome back to the 214 Sports Show. Thanks again to Tommy Yarsh for joining. But we got to move on to the other teams in Dallas, which are the Mavericks and the Stars currently playing right now. The Rangers as well in spring training, but there's really not too much to talk about on that front. So
That
we're going to
Rangers
get into,
belt against the Padres.
yeah,
Oof.
22 to 2. Final score for the Rangers against the Padres. The offense looked pretty clean right there, but again, we talk about this a lot on the podcast. We can't trust spring training whatsoever. But going on to the Dallas Mavericks, um, I put in our outline to react to the Mavericks' loss against the Cavs, and I put in parentheses probably. Now they did lose to the Cavs on Friday. On Sunday, it was a different story. The Mavericks got it done, beat them 130 to 120, and put themselves in a tough spot because it's getting to the point where you need to lose a lot of games. And of course, they have done a very good job at doing that, better than most teams at the bottom of the barrel right now. But you get a team like this or a game like this, which feels like an automatic loss, and you flip that. Now you feel like you're getting into some dangerous water for the Mavericks. I don't know. Are you happy that this team is still trying to compete and win? Are you happy that they won today? I guess yesterday, since we'll be putting this on Monday. But what are your thoughts?
I guess you never want to like fully explode, like fully explode, fully expose your entire, game plan of tanking. So they're gonna play with some heart. But I know you weren't too
You
happy
have
in that
to.
Memphis game specifically because wow, they were playing hard. And Chris Middleton, my goodness, blast
Chris,
from the
what happened?
past. My goodness, Chris Middleton, what are we doing in that game of that magnitude? A tank off between two teams that used to go at it a few years ago with Luka and John Morant. But you look at this recent stretch and they've been losing. They've been doing a lot of losing. I guess it wouldn't hurt to have a game like they had on Sunday against the Cavaliers. Cooper Flagg has played excellent against the Cavaliers these past two games, with 25 plus performances, had 27 in the game on Sunday. You can't lose every game. I appreciate them playing with some heart and making it look like they're not just bowing out of it and just flat out giving up completely. But they're in position, still in great position to get a good lottery pick. As of today, I think they had a 30% chance to get the number one pick. They're right in that little top four range. But like I said last week, I don't know if it matters anymore, the numbers, the percentage of, what it is to get the number one pick, because after last year,
It
dude.
happens once in franchise history,
My
and we're ready
goodness.
to think that we win.
We've never seen the Mavericks do what they did last year. Just have a better outcome than what they were projected, and it ended up being historic. And you can say it's a conspiracy all you want. All I know is that Cooper Flag is a Mav, and I'm seeing a player. I don't know about you, a guy in Darius Acuff from Arkansas who I would not mind, who is now an SEC tournament champion. I would not mind him being paired from a lottery pick perspective with that of Cooper Flag.
He's
My
not
goodness.
bad. He's
I don't
not
know if you
bad
can
at
go
all.
wrong with these lottery picks. There's a lot of great, to offer, great talent to offer for the Dallas Mavericks to select.
And look, I mean, the Mavericks right now, they sit at 14 games left. I believe they are seventh right now in odds, or seventh in the draft lottery right now, sitting at 23 and 45. They are kind of out of reach and within getting into the top four. That's not going to happen. That's going to be Brooklyn is at fourth right now. They're 5.5 games behind the Mavericks. Not going to happen. Utah is still within reach, about 2.5 games behind the Mavs, 1 game behind the Pelicans right now. Memphis just 1 game behind the Mavericks. So if you can process it, I know that was a lot of information right to your dome, but there is a lot of movement that can go on right here. The Mavericks, I believe, have I'm checking right now. Yeah, they are right now ranked as the sixth hardest remaining schedule in the NBA. But looking at it right now, it does not mean much because Memphis right now has the second hardest remaining schedule, and New Orleans right behind us at the seventh hardest remaining schedule. And let me just find where Utah is 13th. So a lot of these teams, everybody has tough opponents. It's going to come down to whoever can lose the best. And the Mavericks right now, they've been doing pretty well, but with this loss or this Cavs win, might I say, it's getting me a little worried. Get me just a tad worried
What
right
was it
now.
recently? An 8 game losing streak? I mean, we've seen like
No, they went
losing.
on, yeah, was it an 8 game? It was the
Yeah,
longest
one,
in our
two, three, four.
lifetime.
We really have not seen we've been so spoiled as Gen Zers in this Mavericks area. Our parents' generation, they've
Yeah.
seen some losing Mavericks basketball, really bad Mavericks basketball in the 80s and 90s. But, it looks like we're back to the historic losing era based off how this team has fared since Luka's trade. But, this
They did
team is
lose
just,
10 straight earlier in the season. 8 straight was the most recent losing streak.
my goodness.
I had to just check there real quick, but yeah, I mean, the Mavericks right now heading into the next part of their schedule, they play a very, very important game on Monday against New Orleans. Then they go and play a 3 game homestand against Atlanta, Los Angeles, the Clippers, and Golden State. So an opportunity to drop a few games right there and hopefully not steal one from some of the competitors higher up in the Western Conference and, of course, the Atlanta Hawks. But I mean, yeah, they got a pretty competitive schedule left. We'll see what happens with the Mavericks for the rest of the season. Do you have anything else to add on, Joe?
No, not at all.
All right. Well, then let's move on. Pretty quick segment right there. Let's move on to the Dallas Stars, which is on the complete different side of the spectrum in standings for their league. They are second in the league in points. Of course, the only one in front of them right now is Colorado, who they just lost to last week. They get a rematch this week on Wednesday in Denver. But you look at this team right now, they are rolling, Joe. They're rolling.
I mean, my goodness, they're just firing all cylinders. And like you were saying last week, we had this topic. It kind of blew up on TikTok of, are we worried about Jake Ottinger? Is it more time for Casey DeSmith to get the starting reps based off how Ottinger is playing? Kind of a bottom 15 performance, if you will, this season. But he has come up clutch as of late in the second half of seasons these past few years for the Stars. So pump the brakes maybe, and let's not get too angry at what he's done. And as of late, this team has rounded off a 4 game win streak since losing to the Avalanche, and they're looking just as good as they were. And again, it's not as great of competition with Chicago. Again, that was a team that was smacking them just a few months ago, and this team was really down bad.
Oh yeah.
But you get that OT win against the Blackhawks, you get a win against your rival in Vegas, and then Edmonton, who again we talked about last week. My goodness, they're not having that same kind of season that we thought they'd have, but they usually
Oh
show up
yeah.
later on in the second half and in the playoffs. smack them 7-2. I mean, I don't see a lot of struggle as of late with Ottinger in those last games against Vegas and Edmonton. So that's a positive sign for sure in that regard. He's looked much better defensively, and you see how that offense looked against the Oilers. This team is just so balanced, and it really does bring a smile to your face based off the struggles that we saw really at the end of 2025 and the beginning of 2026.
Yeah, I mean, and you're talking about this. I look, I'm extremely happy with how this month or post break has gone for the Dallas Stars. I don't think anyone isn't. Um, and there's a lot of reasons why they've been doing so good. I mean, there's been a ton of injuries with hints. Of course, Sagan's been out for a while. Liam Bichsel has been out for a while now. He just recently came back a few weeks ago. Other players, of course, Rannon. I already said hints, right? Who are the other
Mm.
ones that I'm trying to, well, that I'm missing right now?
Mm.
I can't even think right now. There's a few more injuries for the Dallas Stars, but they have really shown up the depth, and that is huge. I mean, you talk about some big goals from Bastion, Ritzkovian in that Edmonton game. But not only are you getting the depth scoring, Oscar Beck had a goal against Vegas. But you're also getting some really good production from your top guys, even with some of the other top guys hurt. They're used to playing with Rantanen and Hintz, but Wyatt Johnston and Jason Robertson have been on a tear recently. They've been scoring almost at a game, a goal per game. I believe in the 7-2 game, they had 3 goals each, well, 3 goals combined, and they've continued that goal streak. And so I'm really impressed with how balanced they are on offense. They've gotten a lot better with that. They've gotten improved possession. They've had they've been more possessive of the puck, which of course leads to greater chances, better scoring chances. I can't seem to credit enough this depth pieces though. These depth pieces, they've really stepped up.
And then also Matt Duchene, who has been awesome, that
Matt
masterful goal that
Duchene.
he had and he hit
Oh, that was
against
nasty.
Edmonton. I mean, that was disgusting, filthy, and the crowd just responded, as they should have. But how about these alternate uniforms, by the way? These new
Oh,
uniforms
pretty
they've
nice.
introduced this year, whew, a nice hint of, current and then retro. It could even be better, if you will, if they had like the little gold trims that they used to have. But right now, it has to be one of the best uniforms, just in
I
NHL, but
love them.
also in sports. These are great. I hope you get one soon, right? You're gonna have one soon, I'm
I
assuming.
might, I might. I still need to get myself a Ranson jersey. I always said I would after the hat trick against Colorado Game 7 last year, but
Hmm.
haven't gone around to it. I wanted to get it with the alternative this year. But they sold out pretty quickly. But anyways, yeah, they do have a lot of things going for them. You mentioned Ottinger earlier. Um, And look, I think that he has been pretty resilient. You could say that he's inconsistent all you want, but I believe he really has shown up. Of course, the Detroit game wouldn't have been close if he didn't have a mishap in the third period, but he was able to hunkered down when Detroit had the puck for majority of overtime, and we were able to win that game. He also held on against Vegas earlier that week, and so I'm very excited for what he does, and I'm happy with the resilience and mentality that this team has had. But anyways, that's going to be it for this 214 Sports Show podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode. If you like this video, like and subscribe to our YouTube and Spotify. All the descriptions down below. If you want extra, it'll be at 214 Sports Show on Twitter/X, Instagram, and TikTok. But anyways, I hope you guys have a great weekend, and we'll see you guys next week for episode 110.